Guess what? We're recording.
Did you record already?
I did. We're going.
Hello.
Welcome. This is Janet, my boss.
This is Kent, my Manny.
And that's the reaction I always get. Wait, what? Manny?
I'm sorry, did you say Nanny? No, I said Manny. He's a dude. Don't be weird.
I'm a Manny. I'm a man. Manny.
It's great.
So we have been working together for 2.5 years.
2.5, yeah.
Yeah. How did we get to the point where we're at today?
Today?
Right now, this moment.
Alcohol?
Okay, and?
Functioning? No, I feel like a lot of, I don't know if I want to talk to this or talk to you. Yes? Hello.
So a lot of what we
talk
do.
To Paul. I feel like we worked really hard, and I have to give a lot of credit to you, because my life was chaos when we met. Like, the most chaos and I've had a lot of chaos in my life, but it was the most chaos I've ever had. You met us 3 months in. So I feel like we've worked really hard, and you especially have worked really hard in communication. I think that was the biggest thing, is you called me out on not being a good communicator. Where it was like, I'm sorry, what's going on? I'm like, sorry, I forgot to tell you tonight this is happening, or whatever. So don't say happening.
Happening. Your Midwestern comes out and happening.
I'm from Utah though. Why do I have a Midwestern accent?
It just happens.
It just happens. It's fine. But honestly, I feel like what we've really worked on is communication and nurturing our relationship so that we both have more to offer to the kids. I don't know. What do you think? How did we get to where we are?
A lot of passive aggressive communication. I don't want to say it that way, but yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much.
Well, I think we were at such different points in our life as well. Because when I first reached out to you, I was doing social media marketing, didn't have a passion for it anymore, didn't really want to do it. And so I'm like, I'm just going to apply for any job that I see. Go on local job sites, and your post, we need a nanny.
How many kids though?
9. 9 kids. Oh, by the way, she has 9 kids.
You applied for a job with somebody that had 9 kids. And single mom. Besides, this isn't like, happy Utah couple, we have 9 kids. No, it was like, single mom, I'm desperate. And you read, great, I'm in.
Great, I'm desperate too.
Let's be desperate together. It's going to be great. And it has been.
Yeah.
But through a lot of work.
But it was just interesting because your ad literally was on every single, I clicked to the next page to look at more jobs, and your ad was right there. So finally I'm like, okay, I'll email you. And you just read the email to me not too long ago. That I originally
so great.
said.
We will read it eventually. It's so great.
But it was just like, why? Why would I apply? And who's gonna take a guy and be like, hey, you want this guy to come watch your kids? Like
statistically speaking, it's not the safest idea. Overall, socially speaking, it's a horrible idea, according to everyone, right?
And I think that's where the intrigue comes in. Wait, you have a man?
Right. Like, why?
I've only met 2 people that we've ever introduced that are like, that's the coolest thing ever. That was just like, immediately, yeah, let's do
yes. Most people give this look. What? Do you not love your kids? No, I absolutely do. That's why we have a Kent. Everyone needs a Kent in their life. That's what I tell everyone. When I introduce the fact that I have a Manny to people, it comes up in a variety of ways, in a variety of social and political and business settings. But when it comes up, I'm like, oh yeah, my Manny Kent. And they're like, did you say Manny? Yeah, it's not a nanny, it's a Manny, which he coined the phrase. But when I introduce it to people, it's like, yeah, it's confusion. It's, I'm trying to accept the fact that you're wrong.
It actually wasn't me that coined the phrase, it was one of your kids.
Really?
It was boy twin.
Oh, hey.
Yeah. He was like,
interesting.
The second day I was there, he was like, can I call you a Manny? Sure.
The second day?
Like the second day, yeah. Second or third day.
So he would have been like 11
Mm-hmm.
at the time. 14 now. But yeah, 11 at the time.
So it was him. I wish I could take credit.
You're like, yeah, well, give credit where credit is due.
So initially you told me no. You're like, hey, thanks for the email, no thanks.
Because I had someone.
Yeah.
I had someone who was like a grandma type. She had, run her own daycare situation, childcare opportunity back east, like super great resume. And I think we've talked about this. Within a week or 10 days, my then 3-year-old tells me she hurt me. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Within 10 days.
Yeah, within 10 days. There were 2 incidents within 10 days where it was like, she squeezed me really hard on my side and just really aggressive, not safe behavior. So immediately I said, you're fired. Goodbye. Don't come back. So then it was like, well, now what? Oh man, great, let's do this. Apparently it's safer.
Do you remember the initial interview that we did?
Over the phone? Or in person?
In person.
Where did we meet?
At your house.
No. No. Remember the chaos moment where it was like, my mind was complete chaos. Tell me.
So we met in your backyard, and you asked me a couple
Did
questions.
we sit by the little fire?
The fire pit.
Okay.
Yeah. And you had me in like the rickety camping chair,
The one that's
which
gonna fall over.
I've broken multiple camping chairs in my life. So I'm like,
And I'm like,
this is
here,
gonna
have
happen.
a seat.
If it doesn't hold up, don't sue me.
It's
I
fine.
think that's what you said. If it doesn't hold up, don't sue me. But have a seat. So then we talked, and you asked questions like, what would you do in this circumstance? How would you handle this circumstance? So I just answered. And then you were like, okay, start now. We'll do a trial and we'll see. Bye.
Like, seriously, I left, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, you were on.
Yeah.
So you did have.
You got a couple hours. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah,
This
you did
is-
have
this is
Manny
your
there.
interview. Yes, that's right.
So
We had so at the time, I think it's important to disclose as we met to explain that I had a daytime nanny, and she was live-in at the time, and you were the evening nanny,
yeah.
because I really legit at the time in my life would love to have had both. And financially, initially, I had the opportunity. Then that kind of went away, which we'll talk about another day. But initially, it was like, yeah, I have this daytime nanny, and I'm going to have, a nanny that comes in the evening and helps where I need it. I'm going to be there some days I'm not. But anyway, so Manny was there.
but she said hi and then went down to her room. So I was like, great. Here's 9 kids that I don't really even know. And luckily your kids are outgoing and they're talkative.
Yeah.
So, but that was just the initial like, oh, I came for an interview and now I'm here till 9 o'clock. Here you go, congratulations. Got the job.
Welcome to my life. That's how we roll. And I feel like that's honestly the best way to do it. Like, as someone who is hiring someone who is going to help with the family and is going to be involved in caregiving, just be who you are. Like, that's who I am, right? I mean, now that you know that, you look back on that day and you're like, no, that's pretty much it. That's how it goes.
So that was fun. So being a night nanny, that was a blast. Because I was only there for a couple hours.
Yeah, but you put the kids to bed every night, which, oh, thank you, sweet baby Jesus. You put the kids to bed. I come home, kids are settled, I'm like, it's only 8:30, what?
And for me, it was like, if I get the kids to bed, then I can have time to like clean and decompress and just like wind my evening down. So guess what?
Or spend time with the older kids too.
Or spend time, yeah.
Yeah.
It depended on if they wanted to be around me or not.
To be fair.
What I was going to ask them to do or not. So the night nanny was fun, but it didn't work out. We both were just like, no, this doesn't work out. Why, if you had to give the top reason why you think it didn't work out, what would you say?
Number one reason it didn't work out with you as a night nanny at the time.
At the time.
Money ultimately was the biggest thing for me, because I didn't hire anybody else. It wasn't like you and I didn't work out, so I found somebody else, like was the initial case, right? Because they didn't hire anybody else. And I know your perspective is really different on this, so I'm interested to hear that.
Because we've never talked about this. We really haven't.
Legit. So I think initially for me, the reason that it didn't work out is just that when I hired you both, I was at a position in my life where I could have you both, and then that changed. So that was the biggest thing where I was like, oh, I can't afford 2 nannies. I need it, like emotionally and logistically and all of that. I need it, but I can't do it. So that, I think, was the number one reason for me.
Was money?
So,
or the stress of money?
the stress of
The stress of money.
the stress. So what was the number one reason for you?
No communication. I couldn't handle it anymore. Like, I'm done. I think the day, and we kind of talked about like, hey, you know, financially this isn't really going to work out for much longer. So we've given an end date, and it was right before Christmas. So I started.
That's right, because we moved December 10th
Mm-hmm.
ish. Yeah. So yeah, you started end of August.
Yeah, end of August, and the final straw that broke the camel's back is when twin A, boy twin,
Boy twin A. Yeah.
he would be what, your 4th child or 5th child?
Technically 4th.
4th, because he was
Yeah.
first. Okay, so your 4th child got tickets to a basketball game. Do you remember this in Salt Lake? And it's gonna be this big family event. We're all gonna go, and I worked some Saturdays, but I asked for that Saturday off because it was my dad's side of the family Christmas party. So you're like, well, can you help us with the basketball game? Okay, sure, but I have to leave at this time, so you've got to figure out rides, you've got to figure out everything. And I don't really like sports at all.
We don't do sports ball either of us, but it was free. It's like, it's a free game,
you know,
for kids.
yeah, and there's tickets for everyone to go, and
Yeah.
so then we get up to the game, and I have your 3rd and 4th child and their friend, and we're at the University of Utah watching this basketball game, and it's like halftime, and I'm like, where are you guys?
It was a disaster, that whole thing.
Do you remember? You're like, oh, we decided to go get lunch. We're eating.
Dinner.
Dinner.
No, it was dinner.
Oh yeah, because that night was my.
Yeah, it was super cold. It was like, yeah, I don't remember how many in tow. I think Carl was with us, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how we decided
Carl's
to
your
go to
boyfriend.
dinner instead. And yeah, it was.
And a few of your kids.
Several. Yeah, it wasn't everybody quite. Maybe not the.
I don't think the oldest twins went, or did they? I know some kids were missing because we had enough tickets to invite their friend, and then we had an extra ticket left over.
Yeah, but it was all the little ones too, which at the time.
Oh, and these tickets, the very back row, in the
Of
very
course.
corner. So like, I couldn't really even see anything to begin with.
The nosebleed.
Oh, but
And
like
knowing you
the
now,
nosebleeds of the
I'm like,
nosebleeds.
it's fine. It's gonna be fine. And knowing you now, I'm like, oh my god, I would never do that to kids.
So I get this. I'm like calling and texting, and nobody's answering their phones. It's halftime. You know, half the game is over. I've got to go to this party, and I've got 2 kids and their friend. Like, where are you guys? So you're like, oh, we're here. We're going to dinner. If you want to miss out, if you want to bail out the rest of the game, come meet us.
Yeah.
It's like, are you kidding?
So he does a drive-by drop-off.
I
I remember
literally
that.
was a
We
drive-by.
went, like, pizza pie, whatever.
Yeah, somewhere in downtown Salt Lake.
Like, get out.
Oh,
Goodbye.
and the worst part was because I wasn't gonna pay for parking. You know, free game. I'm
Right,
not paying
no.
for parking. So we parked down here and with the little tracks metro station thing up, but we had missed the train, and the next one wasn't for like 15, 20 minutes. So I'm like, we're walking. So I made them walk. December. Like, they didn't really have heavy coats on or anything either. But I'm like, we're going. Like, I'm done. We gotta go. And so I made them walk all the way down to the car. And we get in. I'm like, I'm outside. And you come out, and I just tell you kids, get out. Go. Bye.
And after that,
And I quit.
we're done.
Goodbye.
Yeah, we're done. I can't deal with your shit anymore.
But I think for me, I mean, obviously we all have stuff going on in our lives. For me, I was the death of my business. I still do some social media work, but like this that I put a lot of work and time and energy into, all of a sudden my income's gone. And just that added stress, I'm like, I'm done. Like I was done with everything. I couldn't handle anything.
Couldn't life anymore.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, goodbye. And I remember going to my dad's brother's house for the party, and they're like, oh, we hear you're a man. I was like, nope, I'm not. No.
Not
You
anymore.
heard wrong. I quit. I'm done. So
That's over.
that was what, 2016? December 2016?
It was actually, yes, yeah.
Okay, so December 2016. Then in August of 17, beginning of August, late July,
Late July.
And we had kind of texted back and forth, and I had texted with your kids just to maintain that contact. And
which most people don't. I'll be fair. Like, most people don't. Every nanny on the planet is like, I love your family. We're going to stay in touch. Nobody does. This motherfucker stays in touch.
It's because I'm nosy and I want to know what's going on.
Fair enough.
You'll tell me what's going on. Tell me what's going on.
We nurtured the relationship. He nurtured the relationship with
From a
kids
distance.
over that time. Yeah. I mean, he came over maybe once or twice during the time. I think he brought Christmas gifts, even though we were all like, sorry.
Well, I already had Christmas gifts.
Because you're a planner and I'm not. I would have been like, I didn't have any gifts anyway. It's fine. So yes, you stayed in contact, and then what happened at the, well, I guess I can tell that part, because
What's your perspective of that part?
Yeah, it's different, because for you, like, you weren't in the thick of it at the time. So I had a live-in nanny at the time, and things just weren't working out for both of us. It just, I was single, but I had a boyfriend I was dating, and over time he started spending more and more time at the house, and essentially we decided we're going to buy a place together. Like, he was spending a lot of time there. And so my live-in nanny kind of got to the point where she wasn't comfortable there, because at the time that I hired her, I was totally single and didn't have any partner. And now I have a partner who's spending a lot of time there. So she was uncomfortable, I think, for that reason. And also it just, financially it wasn't working out, and
probably just the point of her life too. Like,
yeah, she was getting to the point where she's like, I can't do this anymore, which, to be fair, and we'll probably get into this later, that happens with all nannies, which is why everyone needs
this is my 2 weeks notice.
Where's the cheesecake? So yeah, I feel like a lot of people get to that point, like you said, in their lives where things change. It's just not the right timing, whatever happens. So that happened, and as this is happening, so we're getting ready, Carl and I, the boyfriend, are getting ready to go on a cruise. And I think right before the cruise, I was like, Kent messages me out of nowhere, and I can't even remember what he said.
I wish I'd saved it. Yeah, I don't.
Right. I mean, maybe we could pull it up, but it was just kind of this idea of, hey, how are things going? I'm like, great, how are things for you? He's like, things are changing, and I'm looking for other work. I'm like, really?
And it wasn't even necessarily to hit you up and be like, hey, give me a job.
No,
it was just, we're catching up on life, and this is what's happening.
Because you had been doing that all along, right? So it wasn't out of the norm for you to message me and be like, what's going on? So yeah, as we touch base, it comes out that, oh, by the way, my nanny's leaving and you're looking for work? Funny how that works out. What do you think about coming back?
Well, it was meet Carl and I at Chili's, and let's talk about options.
That's right.
So we went to Chili's and kind of laid it out, and the time that she was leaving was the time that I needed to get a job and work and
the same time that we were like going on our cruise and being done with all of that, and yeah, it was, the timing was perfect.
And there were what, 15-year-olds at the time, twins, were out of town.
Sounds right.
They were family out
in
east,
North Carolina. Yeah.
So it was like, oh, come surprise them and pick them up at the airport and let them know that
that's right.
Your old nanny told everyone. So I didn't get to surprise the kids. That's okay. But it was fun because it just worked out.
Yeah.
So how did we get that initial workaround, or how did we get back to the swing of things?
Was there a swing of things to get back to ultimately?
For me, there was. I'm so schedule driven that, like, no, your kids were in bed every night at 8, whether one was bleeding or not. I don't care. You're good. Get in bed. It's 8. That's what we do.
So,
at 8
yeah,
o'clock.
here's your gauze. It's fine.
But
what do you mean back in the swing of things? I guess
because I mean it was pretty awkward the way that I left things, the way that we left things, and we had communication.
Not just you.
So how do we get to the point where we're at now? So this is August 2017, almost 2 years consistently that I've been back.
Yeah, because it's April 2019 now. How did we? I don't, like, it's hard to say, because I feel like you initially were like, this is my boundary. I have to have communication. It has to be X,
Oh,
Y,
that's
Z.
a good point. At Chili's, I negotiated.
Yeah.
This is what I require to come back.
And I think that's a lot where I leaned on you as my tech guy. I still do. Guess who's editing? It's not me. Because I feel like initially it was like, okay, how do we do that? How do I work with my abilities, my strengths, my weaknesses to make sure that we communicate? Okay, great. Texting works, but also shared calendar. That I think is a game changer, especially for us, because last night, for example, he showed up early, not late. I'll be fair, not late, because the calendar said 6 p.m.
So I was there at
and
5:50.
really it was 6:30. So it's like, great, I'm here super early. Thanks for that. I mean, better.
Just people watching.
Yeah, I mean, do other things on your phone. It's not the end of the world.
It was 2 minutes away from my house. I could have just gone home.
Yeah, but that's how you function. And knowing that, I mean, I function like, holy shit, it's time to be there right now. We are 3 minutes past the time we're supposed to leave according to Waze to get there on time. Like, panic. And I don't love being late, but it happens, right? And so
Well, to me it does.
a lot of times, fair. A lot of times in my calendar, I put things early. And in this particular instance, I could not remember if it was 6 or 6:30, so I thought, I'll put it in as 6, because then at least I'm early and not late. So then I messaged my guy who knows the time, and it turns out it's 6:30, and I failed to communicate.
Well, you didn't really even know if I was going or not.
It's true. And if you had told me, hey, I'm going, I would have been like, oh, it's at 6:30.
I was like, I'll just show up and surprise her.
Which is great.
It didn't
So
work
you
out.
showed up early. It was fine.
Surprise phone call.
Surprise! Hey, where are you? You didn't answer my text. Where are you? But I think that's the biggest key for us, especially as, I mean, I would venture to say co-parents, and that's legit. Like,
Even though if you die, I don't get your kids. Just putting that out there.
wait, do you want them?
I've already told you. Wait, your life insurance is paid up. There's a
Do
lot
you
of
want to
waiting.
be the beneficiary? That's the question. But yes, like I legit say, he's a great co-parent, because we really try to communicate about what's going on with each kid. Like, here's the thing, co-parenting, so many people do it with somebody who doesn't live in their house. You don't live in our house, right?
Mm-mm.
No, you live in your own home. We co-parent because you take care of the kids during the day. And honestly, I feel like a lot of times carry more weight than I do as far as the day-to-day kind of stuff. And then I do the other part. So I feel like we have to communicate that well with each other. And I think that's been the biggest thing for us, is making sure that we're on the same page with what's going on, especially with the kids, and along those lines with the calendar and the house and all that kind of stuff, which, let's be honest, I don't care if you live with your co-parent, if you're fucking your co-parent, if you're not, if you're divorced, I don't care what it is, the communication has to be there. Don't you think?
Mm-hmm. So that was one of my stipulations when I was going to come back. We have to communicate better. And we had kind of worked on it previously,
I
but
tried real hard.
the problem with the previous situation was Nanny during the day, me during
The evening,
the evening,
hours, yeah.
and then you. And so we could never, all three of us, get on the same page. And the kids could see that, so they would play against each other. And, well, my mom said this. And at first I was like, oh, okay. But once I developed a relationship, I was like,
I'm gonna ask your mom.
okay, so show me the text where your mom says you can do that.
Yeah.
And that was part of the negotiation at first too, is I'm gonna set rules, I'm gonna make rules for your family. I'll explain any rule that I make, but I'm just gonna set the rules and do the rules.
We're just gonna establish it.
Yeah, we're just
So
establishing
now-
family rules, we're establishing everything.
So now you ask the kids, like, what's the reality? And they say, well, mom's in charge, but Kent has all the power. Which is
true.
so true. It's so true. Which is, I feel like, the dynamic with any relationship you're talking about. If you're talking about the dynamic of a co-parenting relationship, there's always going to be one that has strengths in this area and one that has strengths in another. That's just kind of the reality. And so, and to be fair, we play off of each other really well, and it's funny. It's like, ha ha ha. But if it came down to it, you and I communicate together and figure it out together. But, as far as the kids are concerned, day to day, there's a lot of times that I'm like, did you ask Ken? Like, show me what Ken said.
And that's always my first response. If the
Mhm.
kids ask something, if I'm not gonna be here, hey, tonight can I go to this? What did your mom say? Oh, well,
I haven't
okay.
asked her.
Well, this is my viewpoint on it. You don't have the grades right now, so no. And then I'll text Shannon and be like, hey, they asked this. Mike said no because of this reason. And that's what I found early on is, if I'm going to set the rules, and you were really good about being like, yeah, just set the rules. I always had an article some psychologist, something to back up any rule I set in case you were like, no. And I'd be like, oh, here you go.
Well, here's
This
the
is it.
data.
Yeah, this is
Because
why
I am
we're good.
super data driven. It's
Mhm.
like we talk about social media stuff all the time. I don't know if it's the time, but my kids all have flip phones. Think you can't. Yeah, that's a discussion for another time. But it's that kind of stuff where you're like, here's the data, and I read it, and I'm like, oh my god, that's a no-brainer. And other times, I mean, we've had discussions and been like, no, this is how I feel about it. But most times, Kent has the power.
Most times.
Yeah, all of the times, it's fine.
So that's, and I think the real game changer. So we got kind of a plan of action, a schedule, which is, you know, I thrive off schedules. I have to have a schedule. Once we got that going, then we really had to work, the two of us,
Yeah.
to develop something. And it's hard
As far
because
as a personal relationship, you mean,
Yeah,
a
personal.
connection.
so I would be with your family during the day, and then I would go home at night and do a second job.
Or third or
So-
fourth or fifth job, but it's fine.
Sometimes I like to elect jobs. So I would go and be like, hey, we don't have an overlap. There's no real way to communicate besides text and phone calls.
Right.
So we got really good about like texting everything as soon as it happened.
And the other thing that I feel like we've really focused on, and I don't know that you brought it up, but I felt like this is important for us to have, I mean, a date night. Do you know what I mean?
That's what I
like,
was going to lead into.
yeah. Well,
That was
that's
the game
great way.
changer.
Yeah, it really was, because I think both of us realized we need some time not only to communicate about things other than over text, but time to just nurture our relationship. I think one of the first times we went out, to be honest, is when I found Viva La Diva on Groupon.
That was the second time. First was Greatest Showman.
Oh, that's right.
Second was
Yeah.
Viva La Diva. Yep.
Yeah, so I really worked hard from my side of things to find things that we could do together, that we had common interests, things that we would enjoy, that was just like, we're gonna go out to dinner, we're gonna go do this thing, that's us, it's just us. We're not gonna mess around with anything else.
Well, that's your personality. You're more about experiences than gifts.
Yeah.
And so you found experiences that we could go and share and have fun with to nurture those things. And for me, it was always kind of like, she's my boss, I'm watching her kids, like, where's the fine line? How do I toe the line?
But you're
that she
gay,
thinks
so
are good?
thank God that's not an issue.
That's true.
That way. But yes, where's that line?
And so that was the really interesting and fun part, was how do we develop a friendship while you still pay me?
Right.
Like, you pay a majority of my bills. Be my friend.
Yeah.
You know.
Don't go anywhere. I need you. And I like desperately in need of you. I mean, if you walked out the door, like,
I put myself in a great position, huh?
devastating. But at the same time, like you said, I mean, I'm the stability for you financially, and so it is a win-win. Not just that way, but over time, because we've nurtured the relationship. God bless you. Don't go anywhere. Seriously. But we talked about it all the time.
Don't make me go to a sports game and stand me up.
It happens. But I feel like we've come a long way, and I think the biggest part of that is the communication and the nurturing the relationship, because I think that's important as well. Because if it was just the business dynamic of you show up, you take care of the kids, I text you communication stuff as far as what's going on with grades and what's going on with scheduling and grounding and all that kind of stuff, if that's all it was, you and I don't have a great relationship in that situation.
I think that's ultimately why the first time it just failed, because we had no relationship.
Yeah, and neither of us really had the time or energy to put into it.
Yeah.
So round two, a little bit later, you and I both realized, I think, the importance of not only building the relationship with each other, but how much we needed each other, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
And so it was like a necessity breeds innovation, invention, I don't know. We made it happen.
Yeah.
Because we both had a need there, and it was important to both of us, and so we made an effort to make that happen. But it's been interesting. So tell
It's
me,
been fun.
let's circle back, because I want to hear from your perspective, because I know my perspective when I tell other people that I have a Manny. I want to hear your perspective on what other people say when you say, I am a Manny. for this single woman with 9 kids?
It really varies, and I really like the shock and awe.
Yes, I do too.
So, child, oh, you have so many kids. Child 6,
Okay.
middle school. I checked
C.
her out of school the other day.
Wait.
Come on, Jane.
6 is C. It's a boy.
No. She doesn't know her kids. Right? Oh.
Yes.
5.
Okay, 5. Got it.
5,
J.
yeah.
Who's a girl?
Yeah.
One of the twins.
Yeah,
Okay.
one of the twins, girl twin. I went to check her out of school, and I've checked her out of school at least 30 times, I would say. Just
By
for
then?
various things. Yeah, by like last week. For just various, she does
Wait,
sports
this
and stuff.
happened last week?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So the attendance lady, who I've never really gotten along with, because she's seen me 30 times and still checks my ID every time. One time I left it, she would not let me take the student. Had to go to my house that's 20 miles away, pick up my ID, come back and get it. It was boy twin that time. Wouldn't take like a photocopied version of my ID either, because I had one of those in my car. Anyway, so she's seen me, I think total 30, 35 times for the last 2 years. She's like, your last name is different than their last name. Why is that? And I was like, oh, it's because I'm the Manny. And she's, kind of conservative, middle-aged, just, and then she like looks me up and down, looks at my bright colored hair. Okay. And then I was like, do I need your approval? Thank you. Like,
Why does it matter?
so it's just, I just like the shock and awe of, and like, how are they gonna process
Right, because it's
that
different.
it's not my
every
kids?
time.
And I've told, if anyone ever compliments me on my kids, I'm always like, oh, they're not my kids. And I love to just like, wait, what? Why does this guy have kids? And so,
Are they all kidnapped? Did you kidnap them all at the same time? I mean,
they're like,
congratulations.
just
Kudos.
try
You're
and talk to
dead.
me. Are you okay?
Right.
Blink twice if you need help.
Which,
Some of your kids would blink twice too, is the problem.
they would, just to fuck with you. I mean, let's segue into that real quick. You and I feel like, are so realistic with the kids about what the dangers are in the world and what the realities are. It's not the game, Manny. It's not. Like, it's so many other things that I think we talk about openly, and given our family dynamics, we joke about openly. We laugh about it because that's how we function with what the dangers really are in the world, because you and I are both obsessed with true crime.
Yeah.
Which
That's a fun side story.
That's a fun side story for another day. But because of that, I feel like, yeah, in that situation, the kids would totally get you in trouble on purpose because you tease them. Like, it's a reciprocal relationship.
And it would be funny if they did. Don't ever do it.
Don't do it.
But
Don't do
it'd be pretty funny if they did. My favorite thing to say to your kids when they walk out of the house is,
let me know if you get kidnapped.
I'm leaving, bye. Let me know if you get kidnapped.
Right. And the little ones are like, wait, but if I get kidnapped, how do I? Yeah, exactly. Just be safe.
Awesome.
There's so many things we could go into, but today is not the day.
Yes.
We gotta edit this.
We're gonna have to stop.
We're gonna have to shrink it down because this is gonna be fun. Because we could do this for hours. Like, what time is it? Yeah, it's been like 40 minutes now, probably. So we're gonna have to edit it down anyway. But this is gonna be great because we could do this all day. We forgot to start with the 5 things. Should we finish?
Let's
with the
finish.
5 things?
All right, so
Okay.
let's wrap up. 5 things about you, Janet.
Tit for tat. Fair? Because I don't think I could be like bam, 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 bam.
Okay.
But I could. So we already know I have 9 kids. I suffer from mental illness. Go.
I suffer from her suffering of mental illness. I'm just kidding.
Cheater.
I'm sorry.
It's true.
I don't
it's
have
true.
any kids. I'm single.
I've been married twice before.
Oh, this is really hard.
It is. We talked about this ahead of time, and it's like, how do we
It's
do
hard to
that?
just
Is
be
it
like,
a
what's the
pros?
opposite of you say? Like, you say something
It's
and I'm just
not,
gonna
I mean,
say.
it's not complimentary. It's not
Yeah.
opposite. It's just whatever.
But that's my
triggers
initial
for you.
reaction. Oh, I've never been married. Okay, there's my third one,
Yeah.
So, I used to listen to podcasts about true crime, and I was too scared to tell Janet, hey, I'm listening to podcasts of true crime. And one day I was home with your youngest, and she was
G.
Yeah, G. She was 3 at the time.
3, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 3. And I have my headphones on, and I'm cleaning the kitchen, listening to this really intense true crime podcast.
About horrible things.
Oh, horrible things. And all of a sudden I feel a on the back of my leg. Scared me so bad that I yelled, which then scared her because, I just woke up from a nap and I'm tired and out of it. So I'm like heart racing and she's crying, and we have to get out the door to go pick up kids from school. So your neighbors are like, what in the world is going on? He looks all like flushed and she's screaming and he's trying to get her in the car.
Just get in the car!
And my first thought was like, how do I explain this to Janet when her neighbors come over and say, by the way, this happened this afternoon?
So that's reality.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
But wait, that wasn't about me, that was about your family.
Well, that's good. Alright, so something else. Personal about you. Because nobody knows us. Well, some
Yes.
people that
Okay,
are
here's the
watching
thing.
this knows.
I'm not an animal person at all. I don't get the appeal. It's not for me. You have your animals, great.
Leave it at that.
Leave it away from me.
That's enough.
Okay.
We'll get into the rest of it later, right? Because that's a
Yep,
story for
that
another
is a story.
time. That's a story for another time. What else? I was a band nerd in high school. Legit, like played the trumpet, drum majorette of the marching band. I played in jazz band and pep band and symphonic band and the pit orchestra, all of it.
So in middle school, I tried different things, student council, drama, like all these different things. Nothing really fit. So in high school, I didn't do anything. So last night when I was like, hey, you look familiar to a stranger, she's like, well, what did you do in high school? Did you do this? Did you do this? And I was like, no, like I didn't do anything. I didn't do any extracurriculars. It just wasn't interesting to me.
Are we at 4? Is that 4?
Yeah.
I don't know. I do sales. I never thought I would, but I am like passionate about sales and sales training. I love it.
And I'm the complete opposite. I have no desire to ever sell anything because I'd be like, you don't actually need that.
Let me talk you out of it.
Yeah.
Do you really feel like you need it?
But I also, so that's the thing about me is I will play devil's advocate for anything. I can firmly believe in one thing, and I know if I know that you believe in the same thing, then I will take the complete opposite position just to challenge that. And
Do you feel like some of that is not only to challenge their belief in it and how firmly they believe in it, but does that bring kind of a validation to you and your belief when you hear their perspective? Does it kind of open a door for you of, yeah, you're actually right, I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I'm going to disagree for devil's advocate, but ultimately that fuels my belief for it. Do you
I think it
that's
does, because I have to defend it, and I have to defend the opposite. So I have to really know why I believe in this and why.
And what the opposite would be.
But it's also good not to just echo chamber and, we all believe the same thing. Great, we're great friends. Well, why do you believe that? What got you to this point? Because I'm so curious about people. What got you from A to B? How did you get there? Because I'm sure my way from A to B was so different.
Which we've talked about, and we'll get into, I'm sure, later. Our journey has been somewhat similar, but in other ways completely different. And so to share those perspectives, because you and I can have a really heated discussion, whether you agree with me or not, we can have really heated discussions. So let's finish on that. How did we decide we were going to finish? I forgot.
Do you want to kiss?
No.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for watching. We don't know.
Well, that's good.